Welcome, everyone. Today, we're doing a deep dive into a really potent spiritual text from a specific Christian tradition. It's called a prayer of surrender.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, let's unpack this because our sources, they frame this not just as, any old prayer. It's presented more like a blueprint, really, for a transformative journey.
Yeah, that's right. And what's really compelling, I think, is how this text, right from the start, it lays out this path that, well, it really challenges a lot of our conventional thinking, doesn't it?
It really does.
It focuses squarely on this idea of surrender, finding a kind of unexpected joy in suffering and, this deep transformation, all viewed through a very particular spiritual lens presented in the source.
And the prayer itself, it kicks off with these lines that are just, wow, incredibly potent. Lord, bestow upon me the joy as I walk with you to Calvary, dying to self, sin, and the world.
Powerful stuff.
All right. And grant me the patience to endure suffering with you. Lord, take my life and mold me into whatever you desire me to be. It seems simple, but the sources say its impact just cuts right to the core of the spiritual path. Total surrender, finding joy, even when things are tough, and this complete reshaping of one's life.
And that phrase, walking to Calvary, the text uses it symbolically, not just historically. It means actively moving beyond your comfort zone.
Right.
Towards sacrifice, towards a kind of spiritual death, but always with this underlying hope of, well, resurrection. It's framed as the essential first step for any real transformation in this tradition.
Okay, but dying to self, that sounds, well, it sounds incredibly difficult, maybe even unnatural in today's world. We tend to cling to our pride, our goals, our comfort.
Exactly, we do.
And the source actually points to a specific passage from Luke's gospel. If anyone would come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross daily and follow me. Daily, it says.
Yeah.
Not just once.
And that raises the question, why? Why this focus on dying to self? The source gives this really vivid analogy, like a seed.
Ah, okay.
Just as a seed must fall into the ground and die before it can bear fruit. So it suggests our own self-will needs to be set aside. It's not about destroying the self, but creating room for something bigger to grow, a different kind of life to emerge, according to this view.
Okay, so following that, the prayer talks about dying to sin. The source material describes sin as something that promises pleasure but actually traps you, essentially. It brings up Romans saying, consider yourselves dead to sin and alive to God. And then it pivots to dying to the world. The allure of money, fame, just being comfortable, getting approval. It's strong. The source even quotes 1 John, do not love the world or the things in the world.
Yeah, and it's important to get the nuance there. Dying to the world in this context isn't presented as like hating creation or rejecting life itself.
Right, not becoming a hermit.
Exactly. It's interpreted more as renouncing the sort of sinful systems and values that work against this higher spiritual purpose. The idea is, if you fix your eyes on eternity, the world's so-called treasures start to look, well, less shiny, a bit like how the Apostle Paul talked about it. It's a real shift in priorities.
Okay, now here's where it gets really interesting for me. This idea of the joy of suffering. I mean, joy. Suffering, those aren't words we usually put together.
Not at all.
But the source mentions Christ enduring the cross for the joy set before him, referencing Hebrews. So what's going on there? How can those coexist?
Well, the source describes a joy that's found within the suffering, not instead of it. It talks about the joy of deeper fellowship with the divine that comes through shared experience.
Okay.
The joy of becoming more like that figure and this unwavering hope of, eternal glory. So suffering, in this view, isn't just pointless pain. It's actually seen as a path, maybe even a necessary one, to deeper connection and purpose.
That's a profound reframing. And then the prayer wraps up with that really humbling request, Lord, take my life and mold me into whatever you desire me to be. That image of clay in the potter's hands. It's powerful.
It really is. It emphasizes this complete yielding, this surrender to being shaped, even if, as the source says, that shaping involves some breaking and remaking. It's about this deep trust in a divine design, believing it's ultimately better and for a specific, meaningful purpose. It's a huge act of faith, really.
So wrapping this up, what does this deep dive mean for you listening? What stands out from this unique perspective on surrender and transformation? We've touched on the call to Calvary, the different kinds of dying to self, sin, the world, and the surprising idea of joy and suffering, all culminating in yielding to be molded.
And maybe it leaves us with a question to ponder. In our own lives, how often do we genuinely consider that maybe yielding something or dying to something familiar, an old habit, a comfort, maybe an ambition, could actually be the very thing that opens the door to a richer, deeper kind of life or purpose, something to think about.